Hi everyone, I'm Francesca and this is Atelier en Cours. This is my Genrethon wrap-up, and first of all I have to say a great thank you to the lovely ladies that created and hosted the Genrethon. It was my first readathon and I really enjoyed it very much. It was very funny and a great experience, and I have to say the Twitter sprints were amazing. I was able to complete my TBR list for the Genrethon and I am quite proud of myself even if it was a short list. The first book that I read is Cider with Rosie by Laurie Lee, and this is not a proper memoir, it is more a collection of memories of the author, all centered around his childhood. And it is set in a Cotswold village where the author lived with his mother and his many siblings just before and during the World War I. If you love fast-paced, emotion-packed books, probably this one is not for you. This is more like a beautiful painting. You have to appreciate the feelings that the writing gives you. And the writing style is really evocative of a distant past, a village in the remote village in the English countryside with no electricity, no cars, where the life of everybody was dominated by nature. And I gave this book 4 stars because even if the stories are not full of events, the writing is really worth it. The next book that I read is a graphic novel and it is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. This was my first graphic novel since probably high school, when I used to read some comics like Dylan Dog and the X-Men. And I have to say I really loved it. I think this genre is perfect for modernizing the storytelling and experimenting with different mediums. The setting is a medieval kind of world, but very technologically advanced, and in this world there are heroes and villains, and the super villain is Lord Ballister Blackheart. But this is not the typical character, the stereotypical character. He is a melancholic scientist, he has strong moral values, and he is not like the classic villain who aims just to power. And also Nimona is a beautiful character. She's a young girl, a shapeshifter, and she hides a terrible dark secret, but she's a very enthusiastic person and very fond of a role of sidekick. The characters are all well-rounded and well-developed. Even Sir Goldenloin, who is the hero in the story, is very cleverly depicted. I found the story not obvious at all, and I really appreciated the artwork, especially the use of color. I show you something, I hope not to spoil anything. And I gave this book 4 stars. Next, I read a play and it was An Ideal Husband by Oscar Wilde. And the main reason I picked this one up is because I really enjoyed the movie adaptation, mainly because there was Rupert Everett in it, but I wanted to see if the movie was really any good, and I have to say it is quite true to the play, but reading the dialogues and the actual play, it was a much more enjoyable experience. It is a witty comedy set during a London season, and the main characters are Lord and Lady Chiltern. He is a young promise of England's politics, he is noble and idealistic, and she's a very serious person, deeply involved in women politics. And they both have high moral standards, and they want to leave a mark in their society by their honorable lives. The arrival of Mrs. Chively, a shady woman carrying a dark secret, creates a series of unfortunate events. She blackmails Lord Chiltern, and he has to decide if he wants to compromise his moral values and lose forever the love and respect of the wife he adores. Wilde is obviously amazing with dialogues that are apparently about nothing and then reveals great truth about life. And I also really enjoyed the description used to introduce the characters, in which in just few lines we have all the character personality depicted. I obviously loved the Rupert Everett character, who is Lord Goring, the selfish but wise dandy, and I gave this book 5 stars. The last book that I read is a fantasy, and it is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And I am ready to be publicly hanged, but I hated this book. I can understand that it can appeal to a younger audience, to a younger reader. The protagonist is very young, is having his first crush in the story. There is a mild adventure element, there is the school element, but really it was so boring that I could have died. And I really love slow-paced giant books. And I'm asking myself if I have read the same book that legions of people here on BookTube said that it was their favorite book of the year, because this was really bad. Probably what I dislike the most is the world building, because there is none. The world that we know very little of is very realistic, it's very similar to our world. Also, even the school is not so exciting, and the magic is learning is more of a medieval science and is quite dull. I don't know, for example, the medicine department in the university is called Medica. Come on! And this is supposed to be high fantasy, so I think of A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin, and it's impossible to even think of a comparison between the two. This is more like an RPG game, like Final Fantasy, when the main character, Kvothe, spends more time checking the tools and the objects that he has in his backpack and making inventories than doing anything else. While George R. R. Martin created an exceptionally beautiful world, very deep characters and a gripping story. I've read some bad reviews focused on the fact that Kvothe is not a likable character, but I don't think that this is the problem at all. First of all, you are not supposed to judge a character by how likely he will become your friend, and second of all, Cersei Lannister is an horrible human being, but she's a great character. The problem is that there is no psychological inspection, and it is just a series of events, but even so, it is not an action-packed book. So I think that there is something missing at every level, and I gave it 2 stars just because in the few final chapters, finally something more interesting happened, and we start to see a different side of the characters. I would love to hear your thoughts, even the insulting ones, I have no problems with them. And please give me some recommendations of graphic novels, because I really want to dive more in that genre. And please subscribe if you want and like the video, and thank you so much for watching, and until next time, ciao!